Hey guys, this is JSer. How's everything going? As you already knew that soon I'm going to have my on-site interview from Facebook. So this video is about behavioral interview questions. I'm going to try to answer some of the questions I found on the internet and try to answer it in a more smooth way. In the previous videos, I tended to express my ideas in a fast way, right? Like just bumping up the words nonstop. But I don't think that's a good. That's not good. Maybe I could slow it down a little bit to make my ideas a little more straightforward, like easier to understand, easy to catch up. Okay, so let's begin. Before we start the real questions, I like to emphasize on the Facebook core values again. There are 5 of them. First one, move fast. This is pretty easy to understand. Yeah, try to do things proactively. Don't wait for other team members, right? Yeah, just doing things that you can. Don't wait for other to drag down the performance. Next one, be bold. Yeah, challenge, right? Okay, focus on the impact. This is a part I don't actually understand. It's maybe for to create something meaningful to the user, or and create something meaningful to the developer. Be open means, yeah, don't stick on the one idea, right? There's no absolute right or wrong. Just be open to all possible options. And build social value. Yeah, Facebook is a social company. Okay, so first one, what were some of the best things you've built? Well, uh, if I have to choose the best thing, I would pick the current project we are doing right now. We have built, I think, maybe the first web app in the world. I'm not sure. Maybe that enables users to trade stock directly in their Messenger app. I know that is not on Messenger, Facebook Messenger. Huh. And we use the latest web technologies to achieve the financial app logic. You know, there are special logics of financial apps, and there's special regulations about the rules we have to follow. Uh, yeah, we had a hard time understanding the specs. Not all of us have a great understanding of what the security, right? The financial world works. So we had a hard time, but even we're set with a tight schedule, we managed to do it on time. So I think that's very cool. Not only we complete not only we completed the logic, the UI, but also we add our own ideas to it. So not only about the UX part, but also the DX developer experience part. We try new ideas. One of them is PageStack, which makes the web app smooth, as close to the native apps, and we outputted our ideas into the engineer blogs online, yeah, on the internet. And we also tried another approach. Just like this is the first time we used the TypeScript actually, and at first we are afraid of it, and then we after several weeks we get used to it. So we started a how to say, investigating the possibilities with TypeScript, and we have adopted some of the approaches I think a few people done before, like progressively forcing the implicit, progressively fading out the implicit any. Yeah, so generally we have done this project with tight schedule, but successfully done it with a great result of UI, and also a great result of a engineer side. Tell me about projects you're proud of. How do you handle the challenge? Give example. Well, so I'd like to say about this current project that we're using a technique called PageStack. Actually, this PageStack thing is the original idea I came up about like 3 years ago when I'm doing another project, and that's when I had this challenge. I set the goal to myself, right? I said, okay, I'll make this app as smooth as possible because it's run in a native app. And I tried a lot of approaches. I searched and searched some of the other people's experience, and I found that okay, it's not that cool. It's not smooth at all. So I focus on one of the challenges that make instant go back. So that's where I believe that distinguish the native apps with the mobile app, web app. So I came up with this page stack idea, with which is basically organizing our screens in the native fashion without destroying the DOM. So I achieved it, and besides that, I achieved a lot of other benefits. So how did I tackle it? Well, first I'll search the idea and try them, and then I'll come up with my own ideas, and then I'll prototype it, try to verify that it is feasible or not, and then I test it. Okay, it looks good. Not only on desktop Chrome, but also on a mobile browser. And then I tested. Okay, it looks good. So I proposed it to the planner designer to tell them that okay, I have this great idea, and we discuss about the animation, and then great, and they say it's great, so we adopt it. So that's the challenge where I had. Tell me about a project that failed and what you learned from the experience. Well, before current project, I also participated in another project. I led another project, which is comparatively a small one. And with this also, this is a project where I came up with this page stack idea, and I did a very great job. But after I think half a year after the release, the project is in a maintenance mode. It means no more features are added to this web app anymore. And technically, that is a fail, right? It's failure of resources, waste of the people's time. So what I learned is that actually we should discuss more about the goal of web apps, no matter what you're doing. In nowadays, if you're creating a mobile web app, maybe you should consider the relation with the native app, right? Which has a higher priority. So what's the goal of this mobile one? Is a replica of the native app, or it's just a light version, enable users to feel or try the full version app. So that project's failure is actually how to say is a task that is not under fully investigation. So if we discuss more, right? If we discuss more and decide that okay, we won't do this, so maybe we can save a lot of resources. Yeah, so that's what I learned from the experience. Yeah, discuss more about the goal. Make it clear of the goal. So what were some excellent collaborations you have had? I have this situation involving another department. Oh well, for these collaboration thing, I would like to talk about the collaboration with the designers. Actually, for us, we actually seldom talk directly with the designers because they're in another country, and we have this strict design QA. We in the QA phase, which means that designers will check our like styling. Does it match their design guide? So they will check, and they have a strict eyes. They know that 1 pixel difference. So we actually at the beginning we had a hard time, right? Because we don't know what the guideline is. What's the what's the standard? So for a part of the UI, for the extreme case, we might have a 5 or 6 round of fixing it, right? We fix, and designer have another issue, and we fix it, and then another issue. So like 5 6 around after it, we fix it. So it's actually makes us frustrated. So we don't know what the standard, and took a lot of time. So after 2 months later, we decided to have a workshop. Is that to gather together to see what's the concerns of both sides. Like for the designers, and we finally understand that they care about the spaces, well, which we didn't know before, and they I thought it was like font size or something, but actually they care about the space, like the general balance to be said. Okay, so it's more about vertical alignment, not about horizontal. So we've drawn a conclusion that in the future development we will focus spare more time, a little more time on the vertical alignment. And from our developer side, we are caring about the components, right? So we actually don't expect too many variations from designer. And okay, designer knows that and say, okay, they will try to create a component using a Zeppelin various component. So with that common component, our engineers could save a lot of work, right? And about the issue process, we also ask them to separate the issues from major to minor, and ask them to create the issue by one pass, not like doing over and over again. So they after that they list up the issues from major and minor. We will merge these major issues with other spec issues and fix them. And when we have time, we will have finally we will tackle the minor issues. And at last, actually, we have some time, so we tackled the minor ones. So it's a very great experience of collaborations. Well, with problem ahead. At first, we had a problem, and we talked and have a solution. Cool. Tell me about a time when you advocate for and push your own ideas forward despite opposition. Well, actually, I never forced my ideas to be the truth, right? Without discussion, I always discuss with my members. Like say I add this page tag in our app, and there's a discussion between whether we should use the soft reload or hard reload when we are going to the homepage, right? So after like a long flow, several of steps, and there's a completion. So okay, when you go to the homepage, should we just reload it hardly or not? So at that time, I am the only person that say okay, we just keep it simple, do the hard reload, and because there might be still some state changes, and our page tag is not that mature, and there might be some glitches, the issues we don't know, right? So and they say okay, they propose very fancy solutions that make the stack very very cool, and like go back for several layers, something like that, and create their own version of history. So I said okay, that's too complicated comparing to the cost, comparing the cost and the gain. So I finally persuaded them to not using that complex approach, but keep it simple. And so that's where we're here today. And also, I have some failure cases also. Once that we have to decide the structuring of how we manage the data across different pages for a specific small component. So I propose that we should just make it simple and don't care about the data update on different pages. So I try to avoid the global state as possible. And my idea is clear, comparing the cost and the gain. But the other two members said, okay, we can actually easily doing this by this approach. Okay, I say, I said this is a too much. Well, I don't accept it. So there's another way, and they came up and find that there's another simple solutions, right? Not on the global state, but something like encapsulate components and with local storage, something like that. And I found that okay, it's removable. I mean, it's if there's something happen, I just remove it, and that hurts nothing. So we accept it, and that's the time I give up on my own ideas. So it's all about discussion. How do you with conflicts? Well, for myself, I don't have so much temper, so I don't conflict with anyone. I never conflict. But with the two of my team members, there were two of them conflict with each other. So one day, one of the members come to me and said another one said something harsh to him. So they kind of like arguing on the Slack. So well, I did know nothing. So I first see the thread, so I see what they're talking about, and then I do one on each of them, talk privately, and see what they think, how they think, and why they think that way of that specific this conflict, and then I understand what the problem is. It's actually about the wording. Actually, one of the members is very sensitive to wording, But the other one is more like a joking type, right? So you say something not that it's not that sensitive. So I ask both to consider consider the counterpart. To try to understand what the other people are thinking and ask them to reframe, like say the sensitive member to be more not sensitive, so they are not meaning what they said, and ask the guy who is not so sensitive to refrain from saying some words to other members. So that problem is kindly solved, but I think there's still some how to say there's this unhappiness between them, and actually after that a small sub project is done, I separate them, so I assign them to different projects, so let time heals. So that's the case I solved the conflict. So yeah, it's all about talk. If we can talk publicly, we talk publicly, but it's more if it is more sensitive, we talk privately. How do you like to give and receive feedback? Oh well, um, okay. In current company, we have this 2 times a year to give the feedback to the co-workers you work with, and with anonymous comments. So at that time, I will give the feedbacks to the members, and while in a objective way, and to remove the biases, I always focus on the facts. That because this, I hope he can do better, or because he did this good, and I say he's very good. So I will give objective feedbacks. And receive feedback also, I will be reviewed by other members, and we will I will check that when that is open and see if they are good or bad. If they're good, okay, I'll keep that. If it is negative feedback, I will judge that if this is true or not. If it is true, I'll fix my problems, like to avoid making that mistakes, to be a better person. And sometimes I am asked directly by a supervisor of another members, right? And for that, also I will give the objective plain ideas, but I don't give the harsh feedback to directly to the person unless that it is a good accomplishment, or it's praise. Praising people is okay. I publicly praising people, but not criticizing people. Never. Best advice you had received from a peer or mentor. This is actually the best advice I got is 2 years, I think, maybe that time. After I got into current company. At the beginning, when I first joined the company, I knew nothing because I was a newbie there. So everything is fresh, everything was cool. So I learned and tried, and suddenly I feel a little, how can I say? So what is the goal of me being in this company? So what does the company expect me to do, right? I'm like a little confused. So at that time, I talked to my boss, and he gave me a very important advice, which still follows today. Is that actually the company doesn't expect you to do anything, actually. So that rather than say, okay, what should I do? I should think what I want to do, right? The company expect me to do is not the problem. The problem is what I can take usage of this company to improve myself. So, the company will benefit from your doing. So, I suddenly realized that yeah, I should take a full usage about on this company to how to say, to improve my skills, to improve my relations with other people, to be a better person, to be a better engineers, which can be able to create any web applications I can. So that's the best advice I had. It's not so. At that time, I realized the relationship between the employer and the employee. It's not like say, okay, I hired you, you must do something for me. Of course, it's the mandatory baseline, but above that, it's more proactive activities, right? It's from the employee itself. Okay, the if the employer if the minimum requirement is not is not satisfied, then you're fired, right? And above that, actually, if you do good, okay, I'll give you a bonus at something like that. So it's more of what you want to be. Why Facebook? Well, since my graduation, since my graduation, I'm working on the social companies. So if I have to say, what if there is a greater platform for me? Okay, that must be Facebook. Facebook is the sole social empire on this world. So if I join Facebook, I could, like say, to get to know more about this world, more ideas, more from the people who work there. I think they're all great people, so I can learn to improve myself. So yeah, be bold, right? So that challenge it from this company. So the next challenge will be Facebook. I think if I have to, they must be Facebook. So that's why I want to be Facebook. Why front end? Well, so the idea is simple because its front end is visible. Okay, so I still remember the thrill that I had when I first showed my homepage, right, to another people, and to another classmate in class, and I don't have a cell phone a smartphone that time. The classmates only have the iPod Touch, right? We collect the Wi-Fi and access to my website and comment there. Oh, I feel so great because, wow, creating UI is so cool. And if we recall what the web looks like 10 years ago, it looks totally different, right? So it would say, okay, the design at that time was cliche, and now it is more modern, more cool, cooler. So since my college, I've always wanted to create this fantastic UI. Yeah, that's why I'm doing front end development, and because okay, front end is the how can I say, is the connection between the user who knows nothing about the data flow behind the screens and the data flow, right? So the interface is very important for non-technical users to use our service. So it's critical. It's important. It's challenging. Yeah, that's why I like it. Retrospective on current project. Our current project is very big SPA. It's over 150k lines of TypeScript, and what we have accomplished is that make it maintainable because it's TypeScript. We've disabled implicit any, well, in a progressive way, and we have our rule of keeping local to avoid global state as less as possible. All the state is basically local, and the CSS is local. It's local to the component. We only share the CSS, share the state in the lowest common ancestor structure. Yeah, and we use the code splitting, every not fancy, but the native technology to achieve our goals and make developer happy, the planners happy, users happy. So I think we've done a great job. And the things that I'd like to do more if we had time is about to split the project into a micro front end. Yeah, we have over 13 people with different backgrounds. Some of us are on the same team. Some of us are from different department. Some of the outsourcing. Some of the intern. Yeah, so I think I think for large SPA, it's not good to have only one SPA. So we had talked about the splitting of project into separately to give the other team members full autonomy. And we had a plan, but we just tried the prototype. Found it is so complicated; it cannot be accomplished within one month. So we postponed it, and we haven't started yet. So that's one part. The micro front end. The next one is system design. Well, this needs more a discussion with designers, and maybe needs more retrospection of designers themselves. So current, because we have a huge and complex web app, and even the planners doesn't know the detailed specs when they are asked to implement the feature. So there are a lot of kinds of components which is hard to design the components at the beginning, right? But yeah, now since we have time, maybe it's a good time to discuss about the system design thing. I think it's gonna be hard to do that, but if we manage to do that, I think the goal will be cool for us. So maybe for the future, developers could just grab some of the components and create a beautiful screens by ourselves. And designers could be focusing on the design guideline about the detailed component. Can you describe a stressful situation? Well, the QA time for the first version was very stressful. At the beginning, this project was only 4 people. 4 of us are all foreigners. Me speaking Japanese. And at the beginning was good because we still have time and we just assign each other different tasks and just proceeded. But if when the QA started, we found that the weakness of a Japanese, because the admin that doesn't understand Japanese, they don't understand the spec very accurately. There will be a lot of bugs. That is for bugs which is misunderstanding between the translation. So at that time, I was very stressful because all the issues came to me. I'm the tech front end tech lead, and I managed to solve it by I think 3 approaches. The first one, I categorized the issues not by the assignment, but also based on how hard it is for a foreigner who doesn't understand Japanese to work on. So about the spec, we need to a thorough reading of the spec. I will handle it. For other pure front-end issues like CSS, browser issues, then I will have the other members to do it. So by this, I can focus on more the hard problems and still keep the other members hands working nonstop. And the other one approach is to ask more outsourcing members. We're still having 3 in our team right now. At the beginning, we asked 3, and the 3 is still on our team today. So actually, I need more members. Can you detail the mistake I made and how I react to it? A mistake? Okay, I think I made a mistakes about the current application's platform choosing. So currently our web app is run as a web view app. At the beginning we have discussed, and at that time I think I choose to web view because we have the fully control of the every user behavior, and that will generate creates us with a fantastic user experience. But later we found that we have a problem with web view, and we need to migrate to the web browser. And we are having a hard time because we are doing so focusedly, we're focusing so much on the web view, and there are some tricky codes that doesn't apply to the web browser. And so yeah, that's the mistake I made, and I have to accept it because at that specific time I cannot foresee the future, right? Yeah. So yeah, what I learned is that don't focusing on specific platform too much. Make it general so it'll be easier for future possible migration. Okay, next one. Example of a goal. Well, we recently set a goal to how to say to stimulate and motivate our members. Which I said, okay, since we're doing so much great job, we must let other people to know us, right? Know us what we are doing. Now let's grab the patterns, your ideas, your infrastructure, your design to verbalize it, to create posts on our engineer blog to let the other team members or the people outside of the company to know what we're doing great. So we set a goal to writing the articles, and but with the first month, nobody wrote anything because we're too busy, right? Every day we're just too busy. And so I changed the plan. I privately set the Friday afternoon as output time. So on that time, in our team, we do nothing about work because originally it's a photo of meetings, and the last day of the weekday. So we seldom do nothing. So I make it clear that the afternoon is for output. So it went very well. We soon after 2 or 3 weeks, we already had 2 articles posted on engineer blog, and the third one is on the way. So I think we're doing a great job setting the goal. It couldn't meet. Well, I at the beginning of this year, I set myself a goal of say, okay, let's us be the first front end team that be big front end team in our company. By saying big, I mean we are not only creating front end works, but also we're using the technologies like Flutter, React Native to create native apps, and we also have our Node.js server. So we are like a full mighty team, like a very big. We can handle the cases we like, right? To create a very cool experience of cross-platform applications. But I couldn't make it because yeah, we don't have time, adequate resources. And what I learned from this is that we need to set a realistic goal, and maybe for that kind of unrealistic goal, it should be a vision, not a applicable, not a very detailed goal that asks us to meet, right? Actual goal must have some milestones that we can accomplish step by step. Have you had a disagreement with the supervisor? Oh yes, remember I said about the stressful time? So actually we have another project, and our supervisor wanted to do the same. So me as the contact point and delegate that to the people from another location, and I just rejected and say, okay, it's gonna be very stressful for me, and I couldn't handle that. And considering the motivation of the other team, if I just keep being in the middle, their motivation will be down, right? Because it's like they are outsourcing for me. So I propose that I give them full autonomy because it's already a different project, right? So it's very obvious that they should work on their own. Describe a time that when you went above and beyond. Well, I would take the page stack approach. Yeah, that's kind of the extra work we have done purely out of our passion, right? We want to create this fantastic user experience, so we made it. We made it. How you worked on a team? Well, how should I explain this? Work on team, so we talked every day. Yeah, so we have this project manager to manage the whole process. And what I'm doing is actually, give feedbacks on the spec, whether it's feasible, give feasibility feedback to the spec and design. And then I will split the front-end task into small parts and assign them based on the members' skills. And then so we talk with server sides about the API spec, and talk about designers about the detailed design, talk about the spec changes with the planner. And we talked with ourselves about how we can have a better design of our front-end work. And we have this weekly every day, and we also have this call of gathering feature. It's like, okay, if you have anything you want to talk, like you want to share some ideas or you want to get help, you just call for gathering, and people who can stop were not on the meeting could just stop at the hands and gather at the free space and discuss what we should do. So I'm kind of this person creates the culture and design the infrastructure of the front. Well, disagree. We just discuss. Actually, this is a debate. Within our team, there's a lot of debate actually. So sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but it's actually very great just discussing. For example, I have discussed with one of the members about how we should organize a long component. Should we separate into component and let them have the local state, and or we gather all the data together to the long page and just make the component stateless? Well, we finally approached to the stateful approach. Well, that's after the discussion. And another one is a global dialogue system. At first, oh, not the dialogue system. Disagree. What is it? Okay, the model. At first, I disagree that we should use the local model, but we should use a global model because it's very easy to use. And after discussion, I realized I made a mistake. It's imperative function. Imperative programming is very error prone, and we need to be careful about the call out functions. But the state and declarative will be much more robust. So I admit that I made a mistake. Sure example of how you were able to motivate employees, co-workers. Well, as I said, at first I will share the members about the vision of our team, not the project. So our team is actually, our goal of our team is to be the best team by practicing on this project, right? So that's the goal of our team, and everyone should work for themselves, is to take usage of the project to make it better, have a better skill, to understand more, yeah, to make itself a better person, employee, and the employer as the company will benefit from it. So every time we work something, if it does nothing, it's just a pure task, then I think it should be boring enough. So add some spice to it. Try a new technology, or try another approach, or refactoring, or do something fun. Yeah, to add some spice, to make it fun and learn something. So that's why I motivate people. Another one is to praise someone. Right, so praise them in publicly and click the like button or on Slack, and then I will delegate the task to them as a tech lead. I don't do all the work. I will delegate the sub project to the right person based on their skills, and ask them to lead. Right, ask them to grow, ask them to lead the project, and yeah, that's how I motivate people. Oh, like suppose we have these kind of like a daily weekly gathering. I assigned one member to lead that project. And another one to lead the weekly meeting, sharing meeting. Another one is for leads the core infrastructure thing. Yeah, delegation. Have you handled in a difficult situation? Well, as I said, the QA time for the first version was very stressful, so we asked the outsourcing members to help us. And another difficult situation is that right before the release, there will be extra spec came out, which no one expected, and we have to do it. So I borrowed another 4 member from other department to help us for almost 1 month. And yeah, strength. My strength, I think it should be always eager to challenge, right? I joined this company, came to this country to challenge myself, and I'm not always content with the task that I'm being asked to. That's the minimum, right? That's the minimum the company asks me to do. So I'd like to add spice to it to make it fun for myself, make it better for the company. So I want to challenge myself, try new approaches, new technologies. If there's no approaches, just to create one with my own ideas. That's why I came up with this page stack approach. And that's my strength. My weakness, well, my weakness as I think my weakness is not. It's something I work like a JavaScript, like a single threaded. I sometimes make a mess about parallel word. If I have too many tasks on me, I kind of make a mess, right? So, yeah, I'm better on single thread, focusing on one thing at a time. So my wife always said, "Okay, you forget about this, forget about that." Yeah, I admit that I always forgot multiple. If I have too many tasks on my too many things on my head. So I use the external memories, the reminder on iPhone. So use daily reminders to remind me to things to do. Okay, so what do you do when you find coworkers not performing? Well, actually, everyone, if the work is he is my member, I will just call the 1-1 right away. Right, talk with him to see if anything wrong, and why it's not so performant. And so what can I do help them? I'll teach him how to work and give some advice, or change this assignment, something to help him grow, to help him output. But if the people is not under my is not in my team, so actually it's technically it's none of my business, right? But if it is affect the whole project, I will just feedback to the direct supervisor to say, hey, you have some problem, right? And yeah, that's it. I won't talk to him directly to his face. It's depends on how close we are. If there's like close friendship between us, I will talk to him. If not, I will shut my mouth up and let his managers handle it. Do you get negative feedback? Well, I seldom get negative feedback, but in a 2 times a year there will be C review. We get the positive and negative feedback anonymously, so I get some feedback there. Recently, I get a feedback that I lack a little of empathy. Well, I admit I sometimes, if I get excited, I maybe lacking of that. So this also it's because of a cultural difference maybe. In these plays, people tend to not conflicting, to avoid conflict. So, but I'm not. Yeah. So I tend to make the right choice. So make things right or wrong, not something in the middle. That's something I need to get better. I would like to pay more attention about my wording next time. To think one more time before I split out from my mouth. What is the most regretful decision you made? Well, as I said, the mistakes I made. What if project is delayed by other teams? Well, it's the project manager's responsibility to push the projects away. As our team, we need to fulfill the promised time, right? To manage our own schedule, as we promised. So actually, we was actually if this is what we are currently doing. We split our task into 3 parts. The first one is the prototype. Another one is the design, right? Another one is API integration. So we'll create a the mockup as fast as possible because that could be done directly from the spec. And then the design claims, I will apply the design CSS code. And when the API is done, and we will integrate the design or integrate the API. The API spec is discussed before, but we cannot assure that it is the right approach or it is actually the spec we agreed on the real implementation, right? So that's the 3 steps. 2 of them is depending on the other team members. The one about the mockup could handle by ourselves. So we just go fast, right? Go fast and try to do things. Don't keep our hands, not working. To keep working, and just don't wait for other team members. Always find something we can do. Just if there's no direction, just prototype, right? Create a prototype and create a proof of concept and discuss about it and make the decision. What teams do you want to get into? Well, from my personal experience, I want to get into a team that works on the services which is used by the millions of users. So, but technically, I think every team in Facebook is full of geniuses. So I think for any team will be challenging for me. But considering the time I need to get a tab to it, I think the service team will be easier approach for me. So I could contribute as soon as possible. But for the other teams, maybe I'll need more time to understand what is going on. Who on our team you like best? Well, the new grad I talked about, he's very good at TypeScript. Do you have dispute? Well, we have dispute about the technical terms. We discuss about the model system. We discuss about the page stack. We just discuss about the lazy load, everything. And we discussed. And sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. So doesn't matter that much. Tell me a time you received feedback from your supervisor. Well, we talked 2 times a year, and that's when supervisor give me a feedback based on his or not acknowledgement. But I have to say my boss is very busy, and there is not so much usable feedback from him. Tell me. Tell me about the project that you were not able to complete. Well, this is the time. As I said, I borrowed 4 other team members from other department. Tell me about time you disagree with the manager. As I said, there's a new project. The manager wants to copy the approach with the current project, which exhausts me. So I disagree with him, and I managed to persuade him to let the other team from another location have the full autonomy. What's the most difficult, challenging problem you have to solve? Well, the page stack. Which environment is best suited for work? Well, I like to work in an environment that everybody could be free to contribute, right? To have the same to discuss, right? To discuss ideas. It's not. Yeah, it's the other factors doesn't matter, like the chairs, like the free snacks doesn't matter, even the flexible time, it doesn't matter for me. I just want to discuss, to how to say, stimulate my brains, to make myself challenging, right? To challenging difficult tasks. So I'd like an environment full of discussion. Tell me about best decision in your life from childhood. Well, I think the best decision is about taking this leap of faith to come to Tokyo, and that actually changed my world, changed my life. I met my wife here, and we got married, and I couldn't imagine if I didn't take a leap of faith of what I'm going to be doing right now, and yeah, this is so I'm always eager to take a leap of faith. Challenge myself. Yeah. So, okay. So that's all for all these behavioral questions. I don't think I'm doing it all good. Hope it helps. I'll attach the link of this keynote in the description of this video. Hope it helps. Hope you can practice your own behavioral questions. Okay. Good luck, guys. Good luck to me. See you next time. Bye bye.